Hello, 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 everyone. Come on into the webinar. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am the owner of LaPaul Consulting. And I'm going to be your host for this evening while we talk about how we are going to get this free grant money for your Black-owned organization or your Black-led nonprofit. So say hello to me. Right now, as you come in, I'm in Ohio, so give your city and your state a shout out. All right. So come on in, come on in, come on in. And say hello. Say hello. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. We have Victoria from Toledo. Victoria, I used to live in Toledo. I lived in Toledo for 3 years. Hey, Kelly from Willoughby. Oh, you are awfully close to me. Look at us representing Ohio today. We have Tanya, originally from Columbus, our neighbors to the south. Hey, Keith, representing Virginia and Houston. Houston is coming up strong with Kristen. So hello, hello, hello. Hey, Southville, Michigan is here. Michigan, that's our neighbor, what, to the west, right? Kind of northwest. Hey, Teresa. Everybody come on in and say hello to me as you come in. Again, my name is Linda Peavy, and I'm the owner of LaPaul Consulting, LLC. I'm going to be your host for this evening, and we are getting ready to get started because anybody who knows me knows that I don't do fluff. Okay, we have about 75 minutes, about an hour and 15 minutes worth of nonstop information that is literally going to help put you in a position to get free grant money, right, for your Black-owned organization or your Black-led nonprofit. All right, so come on in, come on in. We've got more Texas representing, let's see, with Emmanuel. All right, and the ATL has shown up. The ATL is in the house with Felicia. Hey, Teresa from Sicklerville, New Jersey. I have a very, 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 very good friend that lives in Sicklerville, New Jersey. All right, so come on in. Thank you so much. We're going to get started. The first thing I'm going to do is to share my screen. I always say, come on, come through technology, right? And you're going to see like just a little 30-second TV commercial of mine, and it will just give you a better idea of the work that I do and what I've done and how I am now in a position to help you. All right, so we are going to share our screen, and then we're going to do some housekeeping, and then we are off to the races. All right. I'm not sure why that is saying what it is. All right, let's make sure we have the correct one up. The correct one, the correct one. There we go. All right, we're going to try this one more time. There we go. All right, now we're, what do they say? Cooking with Crisco. All right.
Hi, I'm Linda Peavy, owner of LaPaul Consulting. My passion is to place your organization on the path to excellence. Are you struggling to communicate your message, reach target audiences, or secure funding? From marketing communications to grant writing, we achieve your goals. We've worked with high-profile clients and have secured $17 million in funding for charter schools and nonprofits. Call today to discuss what your success looks like and how LaPaul Consulting can help.
All right, so that's a little bit more about me, and I want to make sure everybody's in the right place. So this is grant writing for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. This is my 7 o'clock live webinar. I had another webinar a little bit earlier at noon, and they were fantastic, and I know that you will be too. So we're going to start with a little more information about me and my background, but I want you to know we are going to go fast, okay, because I have a lot of information for you. So if your little fingers just can't write fast enough, please know that we are being recorded. And yes, you will get access to the free replay. So don't worry, you will get the free replay, okay? So again, I'm Linda Peavy, and I'm called the Grants Queen, okay? Why? Because I have been able to secure $17 million in funding and business development. And you know, right, there's a difference between writing the grant application and then getting the money. And I've been blessed to be able to raise over $17 million in funding and business development for my clients. And so I've also been hired to write various grant applications, those requests for proposals. I've been hired to write the scoring template, right? And I do work to build partnerships with organizations. And I also, yes, I provide grant writing workshops all around the country. And I'm a proud alumnus of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. So if you are interested, you can hit that link at the bottom. But I've also been the executive director of a nonprofit, right? And so for you nonprofits, I know how you feel, right? When you've been submitting those grant applications and sometimes they don't work out. I've been there before, all right? So I want to know who's in the house with me. Are you a for-profit? Are you a nonprofit? Or what I'm finding is that a lot of for-profits are now starting nonprofit organizations, which is like fantastic. So let me know in the chat, are you a for-profit or a nonprofit or both? Okay. So let me know who is with me today. For-profit, oh, wow, we have both. For-profit engineering firm, excellent, excellent, excellent. And we have both for-profits, lots of for-profits this evening. Rehab clinic, oh, wow, there's so much money for you, Kristen. All right, so we are going to get started here. A little bit more about my journey to how I was able to be placed in position to actually secure over $17 million. I used to be a publishing executive in Pennsylvania, where I worked for over 10 years. I got hurt. I had to come back home to Cleveland, right? Literally came home in a wheelchair, couldn't stand, couldn't walk. Took me 2 years to recuperate. And after the 2 years, I couldn't find a job, right? Regardless of the fact that I had literally over 20 years of experience. It was mostly in publishing, right? And if you know anything about Cleveland, you know that it is not like the publishing mecca of the world. And so I literally had to open up my own business, right? It was on a necessity that I founded LaPav Consulting. And this year I am celebrating 15 years of owning my own company. And I'm so proud of that. So what I did, when I opened LaPav Consulting, right, one of my first jobs was to be a contract executive director of a nonprofit. I was hired, right, to be an ED. So I started the position, and literally the first week, okay, I was called into the board of directors office and told that I had to write a grant to literally save my job, which meant saving the organization. I didn't know anything about grants, okay? I was, this publishing person in Pennsylvania. But you know what? I learned, right? I learned because I didn't have a choice. And I realized that there's a connection between being able to write grants, right, and get money, because I was able to write the grant. I was able to save my position. And, we're all family here. Now, oftentimes we are asked, right, people that look like you and me, to come in and save the day, right? So give me a yes if you know exactly what I mean. We're called to save projects, we're called to save programs, and sometimes we're called to save entire organizations. And that's exactly what happened. But I learned how to write grants, and I was able to save my job and save the organization, right? You know what I mean, Evelyn and Constance, people that look like you and me, you know what I'm talking about, right? So it worked. I learned how to write grants, and I realized that there is this incredible connection between being able to write a grant and getting, free money. You're going to hear that word all evening, free money. Grant money is free money. And why not use somebody else's money in order to flourish, in order to operate, in order to open, in order to expand, right? And so there is a connection, there is a process, and that's what I'm going to teach you tonight. We're going to cover why this class is important, 3 keys to funding, grant basics. How do you prepare to write grants? What do you write? How do you write it? If we have time, we'll talk about bid proposals, but also getting notice in a sea, right, of grant applications. Then we're going to look at grant research. So how do you find the grants? And then I'm going to give you a list of available grant funding, right? So don't go anywhere, right? Because at the end, we're going to do an in-depth Q&A Okay. Everybody who knows me knows I answer all of the questions. So I'm going to answer your questions. Make sure as I go through the presentation, you drop your questions in either the chat or the Q&A, either one, because I make sure I go through both, right? So the Q&A or the chat, drop your questions there. All right. So we are off to the races. So why is this class important? Because nonprofits and entrepreneurs, we need help with funding, right? And it shouldn't always be about loans, right? We need free money. We need grant money. However, grant writing is a skill and it can be very costly. So grant writers like myself, I'm a professional grant writer. We will charge anywhere between $100 to $200 per hour to write your grant. However, you can learn the skills yourself, right? I want you to be in a position where you are placing your organization in a light so that it can win grants. So why pay a grant writer when nobody is going to tell your story better than you, right? And so here's the secret. You don't have to be a professional grant writer. You need to know the process. I don't want you to be scared, right? When you think about grant writing is different now than it was even 5 years ago. You don't have to worry about writing some 200-page dissertation for a grant. Okay, you can write grants in hours, right? Not even days, sometimes hours. Literally, I was on a training Monday and Tuesday where we were taught literally how to use AI to write a grant in an hour. So you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, it's going to take me months and months and months. I can't do this. You can do this, right? No longer are grants 200 pages, right? There was a grant literally last month, Barclays Bank, $25,000. They wanted a 500-word essay, right? So don't think that grant applications have to be long and drawn out, even the federal ones, right? I saw 2 multi-million-dollar grant applications, and each one was 15 double-spaced pages, right? 7 single-spaced pages for a multi-million-dollar grant, right? You don't have to be a grant writer. You have to know the process. And so that is what I'm going to teach you tonight. So we're going to talk about what do you write to show your case, your organization. How do you write it, right? Because sometimes there are buzzwords. And then so important, how do you attract the right funder who literally wants to give you money, okay? All right, so 2 different incidents completely changed the landscape of philanthropy, completely. One was COVID-19. Before COVID-19, it was unheard of for a for-profit organization to get grant funding. When you thought about grants, you thought about what? Nonprofits, right? Well, when COVID-19 happened, so many small businesses went under. You probably know someone who lost their business, or maybe you lost your business, right? Or maybe you just had to release employees, right? Well, small businesses are the backbone of this country. So foundations and major corporations took notice and they said, we have to do something. We are losing too many businesses, right? What did they do? They started to create pools of grants, right? Grant funding, free money that would be available specifically to for-profit organizations, right? So in addition to what's typically available to nonprofits, now you have millions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars available to for-profit organizations. Now, there are still some recovery-related COVID-19 grants available. If you come across those, just be sure you talk about how COVID-19 affected you. What did you have to do? Did you have to close? Did you have to lay off employees? But we're going to talk about far, far, far more than just the COVID-19 grants. Now, the second incident that occurred that completely changed the landscape of philanthropy was the George Floyd murder. When George Floyd was murdered, once again, foundations, okay, and major corporations saw what everybody else saw, and they said, we have to do something to address racial injustice in this country, right? And so what did they do? They used what they had plenty of, right? Money. And so once again, they created grants, right? Free grant funding that was earmarked for minority organizations, Black-owned organizations, women-owned organizations, and especially if you are a woman and Black-owned organization, the funding is available. Now, a lot of it is in the area of what we call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But also, if you have whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit, and maybe you are addressing socially conscious causes, right? The homeless, the opioid crisis, right? The money is available, right? It is available. And I've been writing grants now for 15 years, and I can assure you that I have never seen the amount of money that is available right now for you as a Black-owned for-profit organization, or even a Black-owned or Black-led nonprofit, right? So now we're going to talk about grant basics. What do you need to know? Grants are not paid back, okay? Now, for the next 2 minutes, I'm just talking to the nonprofits that are with me, the nonprofits. You need to get your 501c3. That is important. What is it? It's the tax-exempt charitable organization designation by the IRS. It means that you are not only tax-exempt, but anyone who gives funding to you, donations to you, they can write those donations off on their tax returns as charitable donations, okay? Foundations will only give grant money to 501c3 organizations, right? Now, I don't want you to use a fiscal agent because I want you to get your own 501c3. The fiscal agent is an organization that has their 501c3, and you are relying upon that fiscal agent to receive grant money for you, right? Which is exactly why foundations don't want to deal with fiscal agents. Because if I'm giving you money for your program or your project or your service, I want it to go directly to you, not through a third party. So the good news for you, nonprofit, is that where it used to take 3 to 6 months to get your 501c3 by the IRS, now it's taking 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so please, please, please get your 501c3. All right. So I want to make sure everybody can hear me because someone is saying that they cannot hear me. So if you can hear me, give me a yes in the chat. If you can hear me, Michelle, you may want to turn up your speaker. Okay, yes, 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 yes. Okay, good, good, good. All right. Next, I want you to look at this slide really carefully. What does it say? Foundation giving in 2021 increased to $90 billion, right? $90 billion. And when the 2022 numbers are released, they're expecting it to be over $100 billion. What do you need to know? People, the money is available. The money is available. Do not let people tell you that there is no money available. So when we are in times of crisis, people actually give more, right? So look at this number, $90 billion. Do we need the whole $90 billion, right? No, we don't need it all. We're not trying to be greedy. What do we need? We just need a little bit, right? I want you to put into the chat, I just need a little bit. Can you imagine what you could do with just a little bit of $90 billion into the chat? I just need a little bit. Think about it. Just a little bit of $90 billion. You could open up your organization. You could grow your organization. You could hire employees. You could stop bootstrapping. You could stop digging in your pocketbooks and your purses and asking family and friends for money, right? That's what I'm talking about, Teresa and Jeff. We're not trying to be greedy, right? We just need a little bit. And so I'm going to show you how to get, right, just a little bit of that $90 billion, right? So next, we're talking about how do you prepare to write grants? What I want you to do is just hone up on your writing skills a bit, right? We know there are 5 basic writing skills. We're only going to deal with number 5, editing and rewriting, okay? Because I don't want you submitting grant applications that are full of grammatical errors, okay? So what do? You want to use Grammarly. It is a phenomenal, free, you're going to hear that word, free software editing tool that you download into your computer. If anybody on the webinar is using Grammarly, give yourself a shout out in the chat. I'm a professional editor and professional writer, and I use Grammarly every single day. Now, they have created this article. I'm going to be giving you tea all night, by the way. This is your first cup of tea. I want you to be able to download, this is your homework, right? This article, Improve Writing Skills Dramatically by Doing These 15 Things. This article is literally going to make you a better writer. So download the article. It will help you. Yes, Tanya is using Grammarly. Isn't it like, it's fantastic. It will help make you a better writer, especially with the new AI that's being included. It is really tremendous and it's free. Like I use the professional version, which is about $130 a year, but you can use the free version and be just fine. Okay, next, we are preparing to write grants. This is where many organizations fail. They get a grant application, they complete it, they send it off, and they wonder why they get a rejection letter. You have to prepare to write grants. What do you need? You need documents, your EIN, your employer identification number. If you're a nonprofit, your 501c3. Now, if you are a for-profit, you need to absolutely check to make sure you are legally able to do business in your state. This is very important, right? Every state is different. I'm in Ohio. Ohio requires a business license, right, for me as a for-profit to do business. Some states do not. More homework. Check with your Secretary of State's website to find out whether or not you need to have a business license to do business in your state as a for-profit, right? Literally last year, a young lady was on my webinar. We got to the section and she said, oh my goodness, Linda, you are right, because I was applying for a grant. The competition was stiff. I was the only one that got the grant money because I was the only one that had my business license, right? My state certification. So make sure that if you are living in a state that requires you to have a business license to do business, that it is current, okay? Next, what do you need? A list of board members, right? List of your staff. Your letters of support become really important. Why? Because they are opportunities to showcase to that funder or that foundation that you have support right in your community for your, whether it's your program, your organization, or even projects, right? Who's writing those letters? It could be your pastor, your church, local politicians that you know, community leaders, even your vendors, okay? So make sure you get those letters of support ready. Next, your audited financial statement. Now, what you need to know is that not every application is going to require an audited financial statement. If so, it needs to be completed by your CPA. Next, your current operating budget. Why is this important even for you startups? Because if you're a startup, you may think, oh, I don't need an operating budget. You absolutely do. Because at the end of the day, you need to know how much this is going to cost you. Like, how much is it going to cost me to open up this nonprofit or open up this business? And when you create that budget, you go line by line and you start to realize where you have gaps. And in those gaps is where you can think about applying for grant money. So let's say you create the budget, you realize, okay, I have money for maybe the lease. I have money for employees, but wow, I didn't think about marketing. I don't have money for marketing. I need to write a grant for marketing. So that budget will allow you to really think about where you need grant funding to completely open and operate successfully, okay? Next, you need a list of other funding resources that you may have. This is important because no foundation or funder wants to be the only organization funding you. Why? Because grants are not guaranteed. And if they're not going to give you a grant in year 2, they don't want to shoulder the responsibility of you going out of business if you don't get their grant. That's why if you have any other funding sources listed in the grant application, it could be other grants, it could be sponsorships, right? It could be in-kind donations, right? So be sure if you're getting any other kind of support that you listed in the grant application. Now, we come to the parts of a typical grant, right? I'm going to go through the components and then we're going to go through these one by one. Make sure you put your questions in the Q&A and the chat. So these are your typical components of a grant application: your summary, your mission, history, leadership, describing the organization, your statement of need or your target market, how you describe your program or your project or your service, community partnerships, your results, right, which are your outputs, outcomes, and impact, your staff, right, leadership. Now, this leadership pertains to your board, right, budget, and then sustainability, which I love to talk about. So we'll get to that a little bit later. All right, we're off to the races. Summary, abstract. What is it? It is the first part of the application, but I don't want you to be fooled, okay? You always write it last, right? You see it first, you write it last. Why? Because it is going to include the most compelling components of your grant application. So you write the grant application, you pull out what is most important, and you put it into the summary. So just because you see it first, you always write it last, okay? Next, your mission and vision. Now, all of you should have a mission statement, right? But do you have a vision statement? What is your vision statement? It's what you would like to have happen in the future if you are attaining your mission statement, right? So more homework. If you have not completed a vision statement, complete it because you will need it. What is your mission? Well, that's what you're doing now, your aims, your goals, that statement. Why is it important? Because you need to align your mission to the mission of the foundation or the funder that you are seeking money from, right? Because if you are focused on K through 12 education, you need to make sure that somewhere in the mission, right, and the vision and the value of that foundation or that organization, that they also focus on K through 12 education, right? There needs to be an alignment. Next, the history section. Now, for those of you who are new, you might be thinking, I don't have a history, I haven't even opened, or I just opened. Wrong. You have a history, right? So what you need to do is think about what was the impetus for you starting your organization. That is what you're going to write about. And I use the example of the retired principal. She was a principal of a high school, grades 9 through 12. She retired and she's starting a tutoring organization. Why? Because when she was a principal, she knew that those students and many other students in grades 9 through 12, they were underperforming. They were not reaching their reading or math grade proficiency. And so she decided to start this tutoring service so that she could help those students. So her being a principal and her seeing how the students were not performing up to their potential led her, right, to create her tutoring organization. So think about what really got you to wanting to open up a nonprofit or for-profit. You want to include that in the history, right? Now we're showing you how to distinguish your application from many others. Leadership, that's simply your CEO, your COO. Make sure you include the board of directors because your board is considered a part of your leadership, okay? Next, we're talking about how do you describe your organization? Well, you're going to talk about your success rates, right? Your success factors, your track record of working with the target population, right? That is going to be important. Any experience you have, right? Working with whomever your target population is, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, right? You're going to use statistics, right? You're going to use numbers. What has your impact been? If you serve the homeless, how many homeless people have you been able to place in shelters, right? Use numbers, use statistics. That is what is going to really get the attention, right, of the foundation or the funder. Next, we're talking about your statement of need. What is the problem or the issue that you are addressing? And this is what you need to know. There is always an issue. It doesn't matter what you do. You have to write what you do in the form of an issue that you are addressing or resolving. It doesn't matter if you have a service or a product-based business, right, or organization. I like to use the bakery, right? There's a bakery that wants to open and relocate in a downtown area, right? In an area where many other businesses have failed. And she's a bakery. She's making cupcakes and cookies, right? You might think, well, what problem is she solving with, cookies? Well, maybe she's a vegan bakery. Maybe she's solving the problem that you have vegans that they want dessert too. And she's able to create sweets for people who are vegan. Or maybe when she locates, right, in that particular downtown area, because there's been so many other failed businesses, she is contributing to the economic development of that community, right? That's one of the issues that she's resolving. Also, she wants to service the businesses in her area because they don't have a really great upscale bakery, right? So no matter what you're doing or what problem or service that you provide, always write it in the form of how you are addressing an issue, right? And so whatever that issue is that you are addressing, that is how you connect and find your perfect funder, because they're going to be interested in the same issue or the same problem that you are addressing or trying to resolve, right? How do you find out who these funders are? At the end of the day, 90% of foundations do not have a website. I'm going to say that again. 90% of foundations do not have a website. Right? So how do you get this information about them to even know like who to communicate with? Well, this is your next cup of tea. You are going to use the 990 form. It is a gold mine of information. Okay, that 990 is the tax document that foundations have to submit. And you're going to be able to find out information about the board members, right? Executive leadership. But if you scroll to the back of the 990, there's going to be a document that will give you information on where they have donated to, organizations where they have provided funding and grants. And you're going to look at that list and see if there's any organization that looks familiar, that's similar to what you're doing, right? So if you have an organization where, for example, you have an equestrian program, right, where you're utilizing horses to help heal veterans, when you look at that 990, you're going to look to see if there are any other organizations that are utilizing animals, right, in order to heal, right? So look to see if there are similar organizations that they have donated to, right, that looks like yours or that are similar to yours. And you'll know, okay, that may be a funder for me. I'm going to investigate further. Now, how do you get the 990, right? You could easily pay, right? There's many organizations where you have to pay for a membership to go online and look at 990s. But I mentioned earlier, free. I'm going to give you another cup of tea. You can go to this particular website, and thank you so much, Malone, for dropping that into the chat. projects.propublica.org/nonprofits, right? This particular website will give you free the 990s of any organization that has filed their 990, free of charge, okay? So that way you will have a free resource to look at those 990 forms. Now, next, we're talking about your target population. In other words, who are you helping? And this is where many organizations go wrong. You can't help everybody. Like, everybody can't be your target population. You have to look at what you're providing and your service and ask yourself, who would be best, okay, benefited, best served, best helped by my service or my program, right? It can't be everybody, right? Because that target population is going to help you find your perfect funder, right? So it could be based on demographics, right? It could be gender. Maybe your organization is geared towards women, or ethnicity. Maybe it's geared towards African Americans, right? Or maybe it's income-based. Maybe it is really geared to those who live below the federal poverty line. Or maybe it's based on age. Maybe you have a daycare center and you're looking for stats on communities that have children below the age of 5, right? Or maybe it's based on geography. What you want to do is utilize the census, right? Don't sleep on the census. Census.gov/quick facts is a phenomenal website that can give you the demographics that you need, right? So if you are a daycare center and you're searching for the great, just the perfect place to locate, you want to see what communities have a great number of kids that are below the age of 5. So absolutely utilize the census. And yes, of course, this is a free site for you. All right. At the end of the day, you are telling a story, right? Keep in mind, you are selling your organization to a foundation. But what I don't want you to do when you're writing the grant narrative is making yourself the hero of that grant narrative, because the hero is not you. The hero is who you serve, that target population. Keep that target population at the center of the story. Why? Because that is where the transformation takes place, right? Those students, right, that are in grades 9 through 12, if they get the tutoring and it helps, and they can graduate from high school and go to college, or maybe take a trade or go to the armed services, their lives will be transformed, right? That homeless person that maybe you're trying to provide shelter for, once they get shelter, they may be able to get a job or go back to school. So the transformation takes place within your target population. So as you're writing, you want to make sure that you're keeping them at the center of your story, okay? And speaking of telling the story, if you've written grant applications before, have you told your best story, right? Have you been able to showcase how you changed lives or appeal to emotions, right? This does not have to be complicated. Literally, you want to talk about real examples, testimonials, case studies, right? And this can be simple. Literally, it can be based on what I consider to be one of the best forms of being able to showcase stories, and that is video. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Literally, you can have your client, talking to their phone. Everybody knows I'm an Android person. But if you have that little iPhone, you can do the same. Like, literally have them talking to that phone for a minute and talk about how this is the best cupcake they've ever tasted in their life, or how your particular service or program has changed their lives. And that video needs to go on the homepage of what? Your website. Okay, so this is important. You will need a website, right? Your Facebook page is not good enough, okay? I've worked with probably thousands of foundations at this point, and I know that one of the first places they go to check you out, right, to find out if you are legitimate, They go to your website, not your Facebook page, your website. So yes, you need a website. Now, I've been blessed. I have like one of the best website designers and developers, and there is a difference. She happens to be both. She's a website designer and developer, and she's been doing this for over 25 years, right? And she's very reasonable. I mean, it's crazy some of the prices I hear people are asking to develop websites. So if you're interested, I can certainly refer you to her. Just drop your email address into the chat, and I will make sure that she gets the information, because you need a website. It does not have to be expensive, okay? But that is going to be important, because I know there are too many foundations. That's one of the first things they're going to look for, okay? So just if you want the recommendation, the referral, just drop your email address into the chat. All right, so you have a decision to make. Are you going to be asking for operating or program project dollars? This is the difference. Operating dollars means you decide where you're putting the grant funding, right? You get the money, it could go towards your lease or employees. You decide the building, whatever. Or maybe you have a particular project in mind, like the restaurant, the bakery. She wants to add on the delivery service. So that would be a specific project for her. What you need to know is that regardless of whether or not you're applying for operating or program project money, you need to always apply to multiple foundations, okay? You should not only be applying to one foundation. This is critical, right? Because if you need employees, yes, you can apply to Foundation A for $10,000, but you could also apply to Foundation B for $10,000 for the same project. Let's say you get both. You get $10,000 from A and $10,000 from Foundation B. So now you've got $20,000, right? So you might be thinking, oh my goodness, like, what do I do? Well, what you're not going to do is give the money back. We don't give back grant money, okay? That's not something we do. What you can do, let's say initially the $10,000 was going to hire a worker to work maybe 10 hours a week. You can now say, okay, since I have double the money, that person will work 20 hours a week. Or maybe I can get two, right, 1099 workers. So always apply to multiple foundations, right? What you can't do is apply to one foundation for both. So each foundation, you have to decide, am I applying for operating or program project or service dollars, okay? Just think about where your greatest need is, right? Now, next, you're just describing your project or your service in this particular section. How or why have you been successful? You're going to address your need. You're going to talk about detailed activities, right? If it's something new that you're using in your organization, yes, you'll need supporting research, right? But at the end of the day, you should be addressing how you are solving a problem or addressing an issue. Next, we want to talk about community partnerships. And this section is so important. I've seen it become even more important in recent years, right? Because foundations are all about collaboration. They want to know that you are working with some other organization to move your company or your project forward. And it does not necessarily mean exchange of money, right? But collaborating with other organizations. And they could be your third-party vendors, for example, right? I'll give you an example. I was working on a grant a few years ago for a Black school where they wanted to teach their third graders the violin, right? And so we were partnering with the Cleveland Orchestra, like clearly one of the best orchestras in the world, right? And so the orchestra was going to come in after school and teach these third graders the violin. So if you can imagine what that looks like on a grant application where you have this small school and you're literally working with the renowned Cleveland Orchestra. So try to find, well-established and well-respected organizations, right, that are in your community that you can work with. Could be the Urban League, HBCUs, the Y, Greek organizations. So that particular bakery that we've been talking about, she's going to partner with an event planner. She's going to place flyers in her store that advertises the event planner. The event planner is going to utilize the bakery as a vendor, but also refer her customers to the bakery. So there's so many ways in which you can collaborate with community organizations and community partners. All right, everybody with me? Give me a yes. It's awfully quiet in that chat. Give me a yes if you're still with me. Yes, yes, yes. Now we're talking about results, right? I don't want you to be scared by the word forecast, okay? Because all you're doing is writing down in the grant application what you think your future results will be. And now some applications will only ask you for outputs. Some will ask you for all three: outputs, outcome, and impact, right? What are they? Outputs. That is what you're going to do right away when you get the grant money. So you're going to write into the application, if you give me $20,000, this is what is going to happen, right? Your outcomes, well, they occur maybe 6 months to a year down the road as a result of the outputs. So as a result of you give me $20,000, this is what I'm going to be able to do in 6 months, right? Impact is a little further along. That's typically maybe a year to 2 years down the road, but it happens as a result of the outputs that happen as a result of the outcomes. I'll give you an example. There was a daycare center. They wanted $20,000, right? And they indicated, if you give me $20,000, we will be able to open. We have a great location, right? So they're going to write in the application, if we get the $20,000 out, our output is that we're going to open our daycare center. We're going to open serving 100 families and 250 children, okay? Now, because we are serving 100 families and 250 children, we found this great location. In 6 months, we're going to be able to grow our daycare capacity by 40%. And we're going to add 24/7 services, right? They're writing this in the grant application. And they're saying, as a result of us growing by 40% and adding 24/7 services, a year from now, this is what is going to happen. 25% of our families will experience less stress. Why? Because they can drop their kids off 24/7. Like, wouldn't you experience less stress if you could drop your kids off any time of the day? 65% of children will demonstrate improved behavior because we have this great educational program, right? And 1 year to 2 years down the road, we're going to expand to 2 locations. So oftentimes that grant application will ask you, like, what is the future impact of us giving you this money now, right? So you've got an example there. Also, you're going to need to input SMART goals, not just goals, SMART goals. So what are they? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I know many of you know all about SMART goals. Well, how do you switch a regular goal into a SMART goal? So let's say you have a goal, you have a program, right? And your goal is, I want to reduce the poverty rate in Cleveland. That's it. Okay, that is way too broad, right, of a goal. So how do you change that, right, into a SMART goal? You can say, I want to reduce the poverty rate by 5% in Cleveland for Hispanic children under the age of 5 within a 5-year time frame. So what did I do there? How did I change the goal into a SMART goal? I use data and statistics, right? And that's what you're going to do. Next, you need to think about what assessment tools you want to use to showcase, right, that your program is working, right? So I love surveys. I like SurveyMonkey. I like JotForm. So if you use surveys, or if there's a particular survey that you use, drop it into the chat and let everybody know about it, right? The teacher, right? She could survey the students, or she could even take the assessment test, right? The before and after math and reading assessment tests to determine, whether or not her tutoring program has worked, right? The restaurant, right? She could have a survey where she's surveying the patrons to find out whether or not they're utilizing the delivery service, right? So there's many different kinds of surveys you can use. Yes, I see Rashana is using SurveyMonkey. It's so easy to use, right? But you need to think about, what are the tools I'm going to use to showcase that my program is working, all right? Next, yes, you want to be able to include information about your staff. Now, for those of you who are, especially the for-profits, it's probably been a long time since you updated your resume or your bio. This is more homework. You need to update that bio and resume, not only yours, but anyone else for whom you will place in a leadership role in that particular project or organization. Why? Because the funder and the foundation, they want to know that you're qualified and the people that you're putting in place of this project is qualified in order to get the grant money. It's all about accountability. Next, the budget. What do you need to know about the budget? You want to show itemized expenses, right? So if you're asking for $50,000 for an executive director, You can't just put, I need 50 grand for an ED, right? Well, the $50,000, what is it going to pay for? Is it going to pay for 6 months or 12 months? And is it a 1099 contractor? Or is it a W-2 employee, right? If it's W-2, you have to be able to showcase the benefits, right? So where you put the specific information, the itemized expenses are in the budget narrative, right? So that's where you're going to really talk about the details of how much money you need and how you're going to use it, okay? So that becomes really, really important, right? Budget for the numbers and then explaining how you're going to be using those funds in the budget narrative. But one little trick that I always use in the budget narrative, always connect the money back to the goal of the program. Okay, you can talk about that in the budget narrative. Now, sustainability, I love, right? Because remember I said earlier, if you get grant money in year 1, it doesn't mean you're going to get grant money in year 2. So you literally have to write in that grant application, how are you going to sustain your program in year 2 if you don't get grant money, right? So I want you to do a little activity really quickly. Think about that high school. The high school got the $20,000 grant for the tutoring program, right? Year 1. They literally have to write in the application, well, if we don't get the money in year 2, we are still going to sustain our program. And this is how we're going to do it, right? So I want you to think about and put into the chat ways in which a high school, right, could write how they would still be able to come up with $20,000 in year 2 to pay for the tutoring program, right? So into the chat, I want you to think about this. This is a high school, right? What are some of the ways that they could write how they're going to be able to raise $20,000 in year 2? Yes, Jeff, exactly. That's perfect. A car wash, right? Is it raffazaz? Perfect. Raffles, right? How about a talent show, right? What about a musical, a community musical? What about selling school merchandise, right? What about a bake sale, right? What about having an opportunity to do a walk, right? Or a race or t-shirts, local sponsors, right? Kristen, Valerie, absolutely. So you have to become creative, right? And think about ways in which you can put into the grant application alternative fund development methods, alternative fund development methods, right? So that the organization knows you have it covered. So even if you don't get the money in year 2, you're going to be okay, because again, they don't want to shoulder the responsibility of knowing if you don't get money in year 2, that the program will just stop, right? At the end of the day, you really want to change your mindset about winning grant money. This is so important. I don't want you going into grant writing thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's too hard. It's going to take too much time. It's too long. I talked earlier about the fact that some grants take 2, 3, 4 hours, right? Some grants are 500 words, right? Grant applications are no longer those 200-page dissertations, right? But what is so important is that you write these grants in a community of support. I literally hear, I think it's almost daily now, horror stories about people being scammed, right? Because anytime you're dealing with free money, people come out of the woodwork to scam you. People saying to you, oh, if you give me $50, I'll write you 3 grants. I've heard this literally. Or you giving money to a grant writer and never seeing them again, right? So you want to be in a community of support where you can be in a safe space, right? To be able to find out about grants and then write grants, because you will be in a better position for success, right? I know you want to be able to help clients and solve problems, and you'll be able to create relationships, right? That are valuable, because you'll be in a community of support, right? That's going to help you. Now, if you take nothing else away from this webinar, this is important. Please meet with the funder. Please meet with the funder first. This can be the difference between whether or not you get grant money. I've been in foundation meetings where I've heard the director say, look, if the person doesn't call me, doesn't email me, has not reached out to me, that application might go into the trash. Now, that doesn't always happen. You know, every foundation does not abide by that, right? But do your due diligence, right? And meet with the funder, right? Because in that meeting, you're going to learn more about the grant than you've ever seen on their website. They're going to learn more about you and your program than they'll ever be able to get from your website, because you're building a relationship, right? You're talking. I tell you, I literally set up a meeting last month with a client and a funder. The foundation had never heard of my client before, had never heard of the client, right? But the missions aligned. And after a 30-minute meeting, the client walked away with a $30,000 grant. It happened about 6 weeks ago. Set up a meeting between the foundation and the client. Foundation had never even heard of the client, but those missions aligned, right? And he was awarded not only $30,000 right there, but he was promised an additional $30,000 a year, right? This is so important for you to meet with that funder, right? So that they get to know you, so that you don't become just another, application in a sea of applications, right? Next, people. Hear me out. Time management, being deadline driven, right? If the time to get the application in is 4:59 p.m., and a lot of them are, and you submit that application at 5 o'clock, you're going to have a bad day, a bad day, because it's not going to be accepted. This is so important. Do not wait until the last minute to submit an application. Please do not wait until the last minute, right? Next, these are some of the do's. Address every question, because if there's a question that doesn't pertain to you, I don't want you to leave it blank. Because if you leave it blank and it's an online portal, it might reject the application thinking it's incomplete because you have blank sentences, right? You have blank questions. Just put NA if a question does not pertain to you. And then, of course, you want to have other people review those applications. So these are just a couple of don'ts. I love a template. Templates are so helpful, but you don't want to use a cookie cutter answer. You don't want, right, to take one grant application and just copy and paste it into 20 others, right? It doesn't work that way, because every grant application is a little different, right? And then whatever you do, don't ask for too much money when you are approaching a funder for the first time. Now, most grants will give you the dollar amount. It's a $5,000 grant. It's a $10,000 grant. However, especially working with community foundations, they don't tell you the amount of money. So you have to go in and ask them, right? Talk to them about what you need, right? And so my recommendation is, when you're going in for the first time, ask for between maybe $5,000 and $25,000. You may be able to push it up to $30,000 for the first time, right? But don't go in asking for $100,000, because they're not going to give it to you. They don't know your track record, right? And then absolutely don't forget to edit. Now, I talked to you about the importance of meeting with the funder. How do you do that? You're going to create a letter of introduction, right? And in that letter, you're going to describe your organization. You're going to talk about your statement of needs, your target population. You're going to align your missions. You're not asking for money, right? This is to be able to meet, right, with the funder. No money is being discussed. You want to be able to know who you're sending this letter to, right? So you're going to do your research. You're going to look at those 990s, get the person's name. But where do you send it to? What I don't want you doing is sending it to like info@abcfoundation.org, because it's going to go off into the hemisphere and I don't know where it's going to go. Okay. You need an email address, and I've been giving you tea. This is the teapot, people. Getemail.io, I think, is just revolutionary, because it is a program that will give you the email address of just about anybody in the world that works for an organization, right, that they have access to, right? And they have just an unbelievable database. I get emails from people in Italy, Germany, you name it, all around the world, right? And the best part, for the first maybe 10 to 15 emails, it is what? Free. So take advantage of it. And then it's about $60 a month, but take advantage of those free 10 to 15 emails. It is absolutely incredible resource for you. So now we're talking about, how do you find the grants? This is grant research, right? How do you find the grants that are available? The Foundation Directory Online is the leading source of information on grants. They have the largest pool of funders, names of funders. They're about $50 a month. However, if you don't even have the $50, you can go to your local library, and most library systems will allow you to access the foundation directory online for free. Okay, but if you want to subscribe, it's about $50 a month. They give you the names of organizations, right, that provide grant funding. Instrumental.com is another one. It's more pricier. Right now it's about $200 because they raised the rates. It's about $200 a month, right? And they give you the grant application, they give you the funder, they give you the $9.90, and they give you other training. But if you're in a budget, the foundation directory and some of the other ones are fine. Grants.gov, that is the federal source, right, for grants. Those of you who are churches or faith-based organizations, yes, there's money for you. The Lilly Foundation is the largest funder of religious organizations, right? Maybe you're in the educational sector. Grantgopher.com is a great resource. That's a free website. Now, grantwatch.com is one of my personal favorites. They have so much information. They give you so much data on the actual grant application, who's providing it, the deadlines, a link to the actual application. They're about $20 a week, okay, for GrantWatch. GrantStation, I love because they have so much information, especially on for-profit organizations. So you need to decide which one of these you're going to use, or multiple ones, right? So that you know how to find grants for you. Now, urbanawarenessusa.org, they're Black owned, and they have a free portal, right? They have free resources, but they also have some paid resources too. But absolutely subscribe to their newsletter because they have tons of information on grants for minority organizations. Now, for example, how do you find out where these grants are? This is the homepage of GrantStation. So as you can see, you're going to put in data. You're going to put in information about your organization, right? Are you a business, nonprofit, individual, right? If you look to the right here, I talked about those areas of interest. This is how you connect with your perfect funder, right? So you're going to be putting in information based on your organization. Your location of the funder. Do you want it to be a local foundation or maybe a national foundation? What I would say to you is that start local first. Once you get local grants, sometimes it's easier to get the national ones, but don't sleep on your local foundations because it's easier to get grant money from them, right? Because they're in the same community that you're serving. But you're going to put all this information in here, right? Your target population, who are you helping? The areas of interest, you see there's several there. You can drill down. And when you start looking for foundations in your community, you can drill down right to the city, right? The city and the state, sometimes even the county. You put in the information, you push a button, and literally it will give you a list of available grant opportunities that's based on your target population and your areas of interest, okay? Now, these are actual opportunities for you to apply for grants. So the U.S. Black Chambers, they are working with American Express to offer We Back Black business grants, right? DLT, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, is available. Facebook has a Black Creators Grant. I've been the recipient of that grant before. National Association for the Self-Employed, they have grants, right? Minority Business Development Agency, FedEx has a grant. SBIR, they have grants. The Northwestern Mutual Black Founder Accelerator is a program. Now, for some of you, you may be thinking, well, I'm so tiny, I'm very small, I don't even have a staff. It doesn't matter sometimes because Amarillo is an organization, all they do is give grant money to really tiny, small organizations. Or guess what? Maybe you don't have any employees, you have an all volunteer staff. That's okay too. They give money to organizations with all volunteer staffs, right? So sometimes it doesn't matter that you don't have paid staff. You just have to have a functioning operational organization to show impact, to show that those volunteers are doing the work. Now, Mustard Seed Foundation, all they do is give to faith-based organizations, okay? Harlem Capital is an investing organization. They give to Black-owned organizations. The Lilly Foundation just invested 2 years ago, $23 million for Black churches and HBCUs. GiveButter.com is a group of Black philanthropists. All they do is give grant money, right? Barclays Bank, I mentioned them last month. They gave a $25,000 grant. All they were looking for was 500 words. For you startups, yes, there's money for you too. So if you are a startup, yes, you can get grant funding, right? Ensile is an organization that provides money for startups. And Sky's the Limit is another organization that provides money for startups. So I know I have a lot of Black women on the line with me. So this little slide is for you. You absolutely have to be signed up to helloalice.com, because that is the largest portal right now that provides information on grants for small businesses that are women-owned, right? Now, the next two I call the credit card grants, right? MasterCard and Visa. Now, I know that the MasterCard grant right now is open. They open April 1st, and they're accepting applications as we speak. All right, so we have the Kickstarter, and the Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women program is open right now. And I believe that portal closes at the end of the month. And this is a program where they provide mentorship and grants for Black women-led nonprofits. Yes, Kristen, you know about Hello Alice. They're phenomenal, right? Everybody, please, all of the women. That's more homework. You have to sign up to helloalice.com. Cartier, the jewelry company, they have grants. Amber Grants for Women, they provide $10,000 every single month, okay? If you have a sports organization, or maybe you're into health and wellness, then the Women's Sports Foundation is for you. Now, really quickly, I want you to put into the chat, when you think about banks and money, what do you think about? Banks and money, banks and money. What do you think about? Banks and money. Into the chat. Yep, Sharon, loans, Keith, loans, Kelly, lines of credit, loans, Dion. Did you know that banks are some of the largest providers of grants? Not loans, grants. You haven't been talking to the right person. You've been maybe talking with your branch manager. They're just going to try to get you to get a loan, right? Your loan officer will probably try to sell you a bigger loan. You need to find out who in your area is the vice president, typically of like community reinvestment or community development or economic development. Make sure it's a bank with a really great footprint. Okay, so maybe they have a lot of branches, or you see ads a lot on TV, and you go to the bank and you go to the vice president and you sit down, because banks like to support the community. You're in the community, have that conversation, develop that relationship. I was on the webinar last year, and a young lady, she listened to what I was saying, and she went and she found a bank that had a really good footprint in her area, and she applied for a $2.3 million grant, right? So we're still waiting to find out whether or not she got the money, because those large grants can take a while. But don't sleep on banks, okay? So whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we're going to do a really great Q&A. I mentioned to you before, I've been writing grants for 15 years. I have never seen the money that is available right now to you as a Black-owned organization. So what did I do? I created a grant writing course for you, because I can only help so many people if I'm writing grants, one at a time. I want to place you in a position to get this grant money. So I created a very easy to follow grant writing course, right? Because I wanted to give you this step-by-step path to funding. I want you to be impactful. I want you to be able to fulfill your mission without using personal finances or bootstrapping. I want you to think about, what could I do with a $20,000, $30,000, or $50,000 grant, right? I mean, that is a significant amount of money if you have not received any funding at all. This program, this course will literally cut your writing time in half and your research time in half, right? I get so many questions. Is there a grant for fill in the blanks? Yes, there's a grant for you. There's a grant for almost anything. It's about finding the right organization that's going to give you the money. And you need to be able to do it faster. And you can do it better than just being alone. Because again, every day I think I hear about scammers. I'm going to give you the absolute best grant research techniques. I'm going to show you really how to find the funder who wants to give you money. And I'm going to teach you how do you approach funders. And of course, I'm going to teach you how to write every single part of the narrative, right? Because I've been writing these narratives for a long time, because I want you to be able to write grants without paying a lot of money to a grant writer, because as I said to you before, like nobody's going to tell your story like you. So what do you get in the course? You get 12 modules. There's about 35 lessons. I know people learn differently. So every lesson starts with this really great video where I'm explaining what you're going to do. And keep in mind, you're writing about what you're passionate about. So this should be fun, right? I'm giving you tasks. I'm giving you workbooks to work through and these really fun quizzes. And yes, you get actual grant examples. And every grant in this course, I wrote myself, and every grant won money. So if I'm asking you to write about the history of your organization, I'm going to give you an example of how I wrote that history, right? And it was able to win money as part of a grant application, okay? And I'm doing what I know nobody else is doing. I'm literally giving you in this course a list of over 450 funders, okay, including a new list that I just updated of organizations that give to entrepreneurs, right? So you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready to go. It's time to get the grant money, right? And I want you to be serious about getting, as what you can clearly see, there's over $90 billion just from foundations, okay? But I do know that many people who create these courses, you buy the course, you never see them again. No. I have a private Facebook group, right? And if anybody is in that group, please give yourself a shout out, because this group is phenomenal. I mean, these students are phenomenal. They help each other. I have professional grant writers that are part of the Facebook group. There are people who have taken this course. They have become professional grant writers. They're part of the Facebook group. So you might be writing a grant, right? And you may want somebody to maybe look at a part of the grant, and you come into the Facebook group and you ask people to maybe review part of the grant. And almost just every time somebody will say, absolutely, I'll review that grant for you, right? So the Facebook group they're just so phenomenal. Literally, like, I can't make this up. Last week, my students in my private Facebook group started a subgroup that's a co-working group, right? I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, it warmed my heart. It's like, okay, these people are serious, right? Because they see in the Facebook group testimonials, literally, of people winning grant money after they've taken the course. And I go one step further for you. Every single month, I give you an hour of group coaching. That's the other bonus, right? With me, not a substitute, with me, where we can do a deep dive in your organization, right? It is an hour of group coaching. It's actually coming up in a couple of weeks, where you get to really talk about what are your needs? What kind of funding are you looking for? What are you trying to do with your organization, right? So what is the cost? I've had this course audited 3 times now. The 12 modules alone are worth $3,549. Just the videos are worth $599. The funders list, which is now over 450, is worth $500. And yes, I give you a complete workbook, goal planners. I give you goal trackers. I give you grant trackers. You know how important it is to track those grants, right? Everything's included, right? So what are you going to pay? Well, the course has been audited. It's worth $4,997, but that's, of course, is not what I charge, because I'm here to help you. The regular price of the course is $997, right? But everybody knows this is my birthday month. So the course has been reduced in half, right? It's $497. But is that what you pay? No, that is not what you pay, because you decided to be with me tonight for an hour, letting me know that you need help, right? And people know I'm a woman of faith. I've been a servant leader since I was 15 years old. I try to provide as much information as I can to help you. So you're not paying $497. You're making one payment of $247. You're not even paying the $497. People pay the $497. They pay the $497 every day, but you're making one payment of $247. So yes, you're getting an additional 50% off, right? But because it's 50% off, yes, there is a date on it. So you get the date 3 days, right? You have 3 days to make the payment of $247 that you're literally getting a $5,000 course for $247. People always think that is a monthly payment. It is not a monthly payment. It is one payment of $247. And I'm going one step beyond that. And people know I don't normally do this. If you can't pay the $247, I'm being generous. It's my birthday month. You can make 2 payments of $137.50 a month for 2 months. And I don't drip my course. Like some instructors drip their course a little at a time. No, Whether you pay the $247 now or the $137.50 now, you get the whole course. You get immediate access to the whole course. Now, if you're paying the $247, that's 50% off. You will need to use this coupon code. That's important. You need to use the coupon code. But if you're taking the 2-month payment, you don't even need a discount code, right? Now, I'm a small business. We have small businesses. We have nonprofits. Life happens, all right? You may buy the course and say, okay, I'm going to start next week. Life happens. You don't start next week. Maybe you don't start for a month, right? This is why this course never expires, because I know life happens, right? And I want to put you into the best position to learn how to get the money, to learn how to write the grants. So look, at the end of the 12 modules, you're ready. You're ready to get grant money. And then I literally give you a list of 450 funders. So you're ready to go. This is everything you get in. Yes, the course is tax deductible because it is an education expense, right? And yes, it is self-paced. So you go at your own rate. This is all you get. The basic storytelling. We didn't even talk about the letter of inquiry, right? And you get these non-writing elements. And yes, you get actual winning grants, right? However, yes, it is just for 3 days. It is just for 3 days because you're getting a crazy price. People pay the $497. You're only paying $247 for the next 3 days. Now, when you purchase, you're going to see this screen. And if you want to pay the $247 one payment, you hit the $497 here, you hit purchase, and then you're going to put in a discount code. Now, if you want to make the 2 payments, you just hit that little drop down arrow next to the $497, and you'll see the 2 payments of $137.50. So this is the order page here. To the left where it says have a coupon, you put in the coupon code. It will literally immediately take off $250 and your course will be $247. Now you see this little block here. A lot of people take advantage of this. It's called Ask the Expert. It allows you for a one-on-one, 1-hour meeting with me direct. It's normally $495 an hour, but it's only $195 an hour if you buy it with the course. So that's you and me together, really doing a deep dive into your organization. So a lot of people take advantage of it. It's really up to you, right? So why is it important that you write grants now? This is critical. It's April, right? Many organizations like Walmart and Verizon, they will tell you when our funds have been expended, they're gone. So January 1st was when people started applying for grants, right? So you don't want to wait several months. You don't want to wait. Please, whatever you do, whether you get this course or not, do not be in the same place a month from now. Do not be wondering why people that you know are getting grants and you're not. Like you may be thinking like, how did that person get a grant or how did he get a grant? There's a way, there's a process, let me coach you and show you what it is. My next coaching session is Monday, April 24th. Again, if you have been to any of my coaching sessions, if you're a student, please let them know. I tell you, people come out of that coaching session with such clear direction, okay? So we know that it works. These are just some testimonials. And I didn't even include Christina. Christina, last week, I had placed a grant in the Facebook group. She applied for it and she got it. $10,000 plus a year of mentoring. Like people are getting money. Farah, like I can't make this up. Farah got 5 grants for her mom's church. She's in the group. I mean, you can literally ask these people, right? Because they're in the Facebook group. Reverend Smith got $35,000 for her church ministry. Kelly got $75,000 for a colleague that she was writing a grant for. She's a professional grant writer. And then she ended up getting more money for herself. Brian got a $30,000 grant. This is all happening like within the last couple of months, right? So people are getting money. People that look just like you and me are getting money, right? So that is the end of the session. We're going to go to Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing and I am going to start with the Q&A. So yes, it's not $247 a month, right? It's $247, one payment. That's one payment and that's it. All right. You get everything for the one payment. Or you can pay the $137.50. Yes, you can do that. That's 2 payments of $137.50. And yes, you get everything, right? You're going to get 3 emails, one with your username and your password set up. The other will be a link to the Facebook group, right? And then the third email will be a welcome. So yes, it's not monthly. People are thinking it's monthly. It's one payment, right? Of $247. All right. So we're going to go to the Q&A right now and see who's asking the questions. So is an LLC a business license? No, absolutely not. So an LLC is a type of business structure, right? You have an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation. You could be a sole proprietor. You could be a corporation. You could be an S Corp. You could be a partnership. That is only the type of structure that you are. That has nothing to do with a business license. You can have an LLC, right? You still need to be able to legally do business in your state. That's why you must go to your Secretary of State's website to find out whether or not you need a state certification, right? The LLC is your business structure, right? Depending upon what state you live in, you still need a business license to practice your business, right? What's a CPA? That is a certified public accountant, right? The CPA is your certified public accountant. How many letters of support should we have? Oh, okay, Keith, that's a really great question. It depends. The more, the better. But what's more important than the number is the quality, right? So maybe you know some well-known people in the community. Maybe you know the mayor. Maybe you know people who are well-respected. So the quality of the letter is more important than the quantity. Okay, so try to ask people for whom, if you have any high profile or high visibility people, ask them, right? But if you don't, that's okay too, all right? How long does it take for funders to review and decide on grant applications? Another great question, Keith, and the answer is it depends. It depends on the organization. So many foundations, their board of directors decide on who gets the grant money. Boards meet sometimes 4 times a year, sometimes 5 times a year. So oftentimes I would say typically it's about a 3-month wait, right? Before you get that answer. It can be up to 3 months. Now, if you need discretionary funding, like emergency funding, like your store is about to close or you need money right away, you can always go to your community foundation and let them know you need emergency funding. And oftentimes every community foundation has what's called discretionary funding, where they can maybe expedite that process and give you a check in maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But typically expect to wait anywhere between 2 to 3 months to get the grant funding. Do they virtually want to meet with the applicants? I would say yes. Why? Because they're investing in you. They want to know about you, right? Please don't think you're bugging these foundations by asking to meet with them. You're trying to establish a partnership. You're asking these people for free money, right? They're giving you free money. They want to know about you. So most of them will want to meet with you. The problem is people don't ask. People get scared and they think, oh, I don't want to talk to the person. I just want their money. Okay, right? You want to be able to meet with them, right? So yes, most of them want to meet with you. Is a CPA no, the CPA is a certified public accountant. Okay, I'm a food truck owner. I need funding for equipment to get my truck up and running. Which grant should I target, right? So it just depends, right? If you're an entrepreneur, so you, for example, could target grants that are for the restaurant industry. Literally, the Amber grant that I talked to you about, they give money, they give $10,000 every month to women. That was their category. Their category was any woman that's in the restaurant business, right? They were giving $10,000 to. So you want to look at organizations that give funding to those who are in the restaurant industry, but it depends because you have to read the grant application. There are many, 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 many applications, so many applications that are available just because you're a woman-owned business, right? They don't necessarily care what industry you're in. You're a woman-owned business, so you're eligible for that particular grant, but you can get specific, right? And look for foundations or organizations that will give you money. because you're in the restaurant, what's called a hospitality industry, right? But it doesn't have to be the case. I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself to only look for funding that's specific to your particular area, because if you go on helloalice.com, you'll see that so many of those grants there, if you have a woman-owned business, you're eligible to apply, okay? Is there a specific website for bank grants? No. You need to talk with the bank. You need to talk with the bank. Now, sometimes, depending upon whether or not you sign up for some of the grant search engines, which everybody should be assigned, you should be signing up for at least, one of those grant portals, Foundation Directory Online, Grant Watch, Grant Station. You can try to put into the category that you want the funder to be a bank. You can be really specific. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, right? But no, there's no set website for bank grants, because just like Barclays, I can tell you Barclays, they continue to give grant money. They're one of the funders that typically provide, quite a bit of grant funding for for-profit small businesses. But I would look and research in your area, because that's going to be the easiest way for you to get bank money, is to approach a bank in your area, right? And then if you can get money from that local bank, you may be able to get additional money from their headquarters office. So let's say we have like a key bank here that is well known. They give millions of dollars in grants. You may go to that vice president, which may be regional, and get money from the VP, but there's also a key bank foundation. And once you get money from the VP or from one of the regional areas or sectors of the bank, you can also apply through the national offices, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there to get money from banks. I'm trying to open up a daycare. What type of grants can I apply for? That's going to be your early childhood education. I completed a special presentation to a Facebook group of daycare centers, right? So that was a very special presentation. It was very, very geared towards daycare centers. And that's something else I would ask you to do, Tori, please. Look at the Facebook groups that are comprised of daycare centers. There are some fantastic ones. And if you want to send me an email, you can do that. You can send me an email, and then I can share with you a couple of those Facebook groups. And also, I happen to know Brandy Woods. So Brandy Woods has a multi-million-dollar daycare business, and all she does right now is help other daycare centers to get to be literally 6- and 7-figure daycare centers, right? So she's a person that you want to know. Okay, so those are the questions in the Q&A. And while I'm waiting to get into the chat to see if there's any questions there, for those of you who are still with me, I want you to really put this out into the universe, because sometimes you have to do that. Into the chat, everybody, I want you to say, I'm ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. I don't want you waiting. I don't want you being in the same position. Really, a month from now, like people that you're like, oh my gosh, how did that person get grant money? You will know how they got grant money, right? Because you will position yourself to get it. So into the chat, I am ready to get grant money. I am ready to get this grant money. We know that it's there. We know that people that look just like you getting grant money. Okay. All right. Also, you might receive the emails that I was sending to you asking you to please join me, because I do give away some prizes during some of the webinars. And what I'm giving away tonight is my grant writing success kit, which is worth $497, right? And it is going to the first person, right, that said hello to me, that came into the chat. And so lucky, it is going to Victoria, last name, let's see, I think it's McNeil, from Toledo, the place where I lived for 3 years. So Victoria, I want you to send me an email. I'm going to give you a copy of my grant writing success kit. So congratulations. All right, let's get to the Q&A. that's in the chat here. So yes, you only have 3 days, right, to get the 50% discount. You only have 3 days. You can pay the $497. People absolutely do. But why? Well, you can only pay $247 or $137.50, right? Okay. So, okay, I answered that question. So what do you think about grants.gov? Well, grants.gov is your only portal for learning about government grants. Like, there is no other. So I know it can be tough. I don't know why they make things so complicated in trying to sign up, but you just have to go through the process. What you want to do to make it better for you is sign up for grants that are specifically geared to your particular industry, right? So you can get daily emails, right, that will provide you with open opportunities for grants on grants.gov. But as you can imagine, there are so many different departments. Department of Justice, they have many, many grants. Department of Education, billions of dollars worth of grants that they provide. But you have to sign up. You need your unique identifier, which used to be the DUNS number, but now it's your unique identifier. You need to make sure you're signed up with SAM, right, in the SAM system. So it's not so much like what do I think about it? It's the only game in town, right? You don't have a choice. If you want to learn about grants and if you want to submit your government grants, your federal government grants, you have to deal with grants.gov. You're welcome, Keith. Kristen, I've been having trouble finding grants for my field. I am trying to partner with ABA centers and daycares to provide therapeutic assistance. So I would need to know specifically what that means. And so I hope you buy the grant so that the grant writing course, so that you come into the Facebook group and ask that question. The Facebook group, people, is lit, I'm telling you. Somebody was asking me from the noon session, is it active? That's like the biggest understatement, right? People are getting grant money from being in that Facebook group. I tell you, they are getting grant money. That's what I'm talking about. So Victor, Keith, I'm ready to get grant money. Tanya, Jeff, yes, I'm ready to get grant money. Absolutely. Dion, Jeff, Teresa, Valerie, I'm ready to get grant money. Tanya, I'm ready to get grant money. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to hear. Because look, we know the money is available, and people that look just like you and me every single day, they're getting this money. So you have to ask yourself, why not you? Like, why not you? So Valerie, I own a massage establishment for women and young girls who have gone through trauma that also offers computer classes, t-shirt designs, and for free so that's too long of an answer right now. But let me tell you, there is money available for what you are doing, because you're covering a multitude of issues, right? And so for every sector that you are providing a benefit and a resource for, you can look in that particular sector, that particular area of interest, to get grant funding. You said that you are providing computer classes. That's a completely different animal, right? So you can apply for money because you are providing technical skills to these girls, right? You deal with trauma, right? That can include mental, physical abuse, mental health. There are billions of dollars available for the mental health sector because there's so much mental health disease right now, right? Not sure about the t-shirts. I would have to know what that is, because keep in mind, once you get money, if it's operating money, you decide where you want to put the money, right? So there seems to be like a multitude of opportunities for you just based on the services that you're providing, right? So that's the great thing about grant writing. You don't have to, when you're doing the searching, you don't have to just look at one particular sector of what you're providing. You are providing 3 very different services. So you're looking at potential funders in all 3 of those areas, right? So good for you. So children with autism, absolutely, there's grant money available. Again, it is about how you do the research, right? So I am hoping, yes, we need grant money, and it's available. It is available. That is a good thing. And as I said before, I've been doing this for 15 years. I have never seen the amount of money that is available right now. And it's available for you because of what happened to George Floyd and because of COVID-19. You didn't have this kind of money before. What I can't tell you is how much longer it's going to be available. That I can't tell you, but I know it's available now, right? And I have so many testimonials of women, literally, and men getting grant funding after they take the course. They get the support. Like, I don't want you any longer to feel like you don't know what to do, or that if somebody is telling you that if you give them $50, they're gonna write 3 grants for you. We're gonna tell you to run the other way, to do a military turn and run the other way. Okay, that's what's great about the Facebook group. It is a community of support, right, for people that look like you. Okay, all right. So I don't see any other questions in the webinar chat section, and let's just see if there's any more. Okay, so all right, so Victoria, so what I'm going to do now, I want everyone to put these 2 emails into their safe senders list, because I want you to get the replay. I want everybody to get the replay, and I don't want it to go to your spam. So these 2 emails here, you are going to get the replay likely late tonight and tomorrow morning. So I don't want it to get lost into your spam. So I want you to put these 2 email addresses into your safe senders list in your email program. I want you to copy and paste these. lpv@lepav.com, that is my direct email address. And then hello@grantwriting for non-writers.com. So please, 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 please put those into the safe senders portion of your email program, right? And you can join. I'm hoping you join the course, because I'm hoping you allow us to help you get the funding that you need. And something else, I've been in business for 15 years. So what I'm finding, which I love, right, is that in the group coaching session, oftentimes I'll get questions that don't even pertain to grant writing, right? So I have this one student, and she invented a product, right? And she got the patent on the product, but she was having trouble bringing it to market. And so she was talking about this in the group coaching session. And I told her, I said, well, I'm very, very, very good friends with Lisa Aska. Lisa, I literally was speaking on her webinar as part of her webinar 2 nights ago. She had me as her guest speaker. She's considered like the QVC HSN queen. She has placed so many products on HSN and QVC, and she also helps other inventors to get their products placed. Plus, she's a Shark Tank consultant. So I connected her, with the young lady that created the product and got a patent on it. So I'm here to serve you, right? Because I've been in business for a while. And so I know how to maybe navigate, a lot of the hurdles that you might be bumping up against. So allow me to be able to serve you. So I know grants can seem intimidating. I know that, right? I know that. I get that. And that's why I say to you, one step at a time. So the grant writing course literally takes you through step by step by step. So at the end, right, you have the document. You have the document that you can use, right? And as I mentioned before, you don't have to worry about, writing some 200-page document. Literally, it's a couple of pages. It's a couple of pages, right? You answer the questions. And if you go through the course, you'll know how to answer the questions so that it'll be successful for you. Like there's so many testimonials in the Facebook group. It's amazing. And I gave you a few just on the slide because I want to break down that fear, right? Because keep in mind, you will not get grant funding if you don't submit applications. It doesn't happen. And I know it's a fear, right? But you know what you don't want the spirit of fear to do for you is keeping you from money. It's keeping you from money. Christina gave such an incredible testimony in her. I really wish I could just pull it up because she gave such an incredible testimony because she said the fear was literally keeping her, and she didn't have any confidence, right? She didn't think she was going to get any grants. So it was keeping her from writing the application. And she said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to push past the fear. I have the information. I've completed the course. I know what to say. I know how to frame what I do now. And she went for it and she got it. And she not only got a $10,000 grant, she got a year's worth of mentorship with that boss program, right? So you've got to push past the fear. And that's why I'm here, right? That's why I give you support. That's why I don't leave you. I'm not an instructor that you buy the course and I'm gone. You're going to see me in the Facebook group all the time. You're going to see me on the group coaching call. That's once a month, right? Because I don't want to leave you. I know it's intimidating. And I don't want you to allow fear to keep you from having what is already yours, right? You've got to step out on faith to get it. People know, I'm not going to start preaching, but people know I'm a woman of God. Don't let fear keep you from what is already yours. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So let me see if there are any other. Oh, Emmanuel, did you send it to the email address? So let me look for your email, okay? I'll look for your email. Okay, I will look for your email. So how else can we reach you after we join the course? So I gave you my email address, right? So if you want a one-on-one meeting with me, that's $195 for the 1 hour. We can do a deep dive in your organization. That email address I gave you is my personal email address, right? So Emmanuel, I'm not sure where you sent your email to. I will look for your email, but I've given you my direct email address, right? So again, I don't go off into, never land after this webinar is over with, right? I'm always in the Facebook group, and I'm your coach once a month, right, for that group coaching. But if you want the one-on-one, I actually give extended grant coaching too. So if you want to meet with me like 4 hours every month to keep you accountable, to make sure that you are applying for these grants, I'm available for that as well, right? So if you want ongoing group coaching from me, I'm available as well. All right. So I'm here for you to get you through this process because I want to see you successful, right? Okay. So Emmanuel, I'm going to look for your email. And I believe that is it for the Q&A. I'm going to, yes, Tanya, you can email me. I am going to see if there are any other questions, but I think we are done. Those of you who want me to give your email address to my website designer and developer, be sure you give me that email address because I will send that information to her for sure. But I believe we are done. So I want to thank everybody because I know you could have been elsewhere tonight. You decided to spend your hour with me, and I appreciate that because I know you could have been somewhere else, but you needed help and you came to me for help. And I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you'll be able to take the information and use it. But yes, I hope you'll allow me to help you even further, right, through the course and through the coaching and through the Facebook group. Definitely, it's available to you. You have 3 days, though, to get the 50% off. 3 days only, okay? So I don't want you to wait. People are paying the $497. You don't have to, right? So I want to thank you so much. Again, my name is Linda Peavy. I'm the founder of LaPav Consulting and also the grant writing course, Grant Writing for Non-Writers, Keys to Winning Grant Proposals. And I want to thank all of you for spending this time for me. I hope you have a blessed evening and a blessed holiday Easter weekend, if you so choose to celebrate. Thank you so much again. And hopefully I will see you shortly. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.